particular purpose. Okay, so we are creating a VM. VM is nothing but a physical or virtual equivalent of a physical server, right? So this virtual machines will be created for a particular purpose. Maybe like it is for a business application, or it might be for some kind of utility services. When I say utility services, the IT related, for example, the network DSCP, DNS, Active Directory. So these are all considered as utility services. So we will be going and creating the virtual machine to run some workload on that. Okay, and based on the workload, we will be going and choosing the instance family, right? So here, based on the workload category, okay, automatically the architect will know what to choose, and they will guide us which one to choose. So when it comes to instance family, okay, there are many different instance family that are available. So this particular topic is about how to go and choose the instance family as an architect, and also as an administrator. You just need to go and select the right option under the listing here. Okay, you have to go and select the specific option under the listing. See, if I go and look at all the sizes, there are many different sizes that are available. So in Azure platform, okay, we call this as stock keeping unit, or SKU. SKU means what are the different sizes and all those stuff. Okay, we call it as stock keeping unit. What are the different stocks that are available, or what are the different sizes that are available in that particular region or location. Okay, so SKU means stock keeping unit, that is equally relevant to the size. Okay, when I say instance family will have an for example, for a particular business application, maybe if it is more memory intensive application, or if it is more transactional application, whether it needs a disk throughput, you'll have to go and choose the workload or instance family based on the workload category. Okay, when I say workload category, some application might need more memory, some application might need more storage capacity, some application might need very high network transfer speed. So based on the application requirement, we'll go and choose the particular instance family. So who will know the business requirement or the application requirement? Only the business owner or the customer will know what kind of application it is and what kind of performance it will demand. Okay, so we'll have to talk to them. We'll have to understand what exactly the application is going to do, and what are the areas it will have a high intensity, whether it will have a high intensive requirement on memory side or network side or disk side. Based on that, we'll go and choose the instance family. In Azure platform, we have these different type of instance family. Okay, general purpose, we have compute optimized, we have memory optimized, we have got storage optimized, and we have got high performing options and GPU optimized. So these are the categories that are available. So we have got the graphics optimized, we have got the high performance compute HPC category, and we have got one more category which is called confidential compute. Okay, so in total we have got these 3, 6, 7 different types. So there are 7 different types of instance family that are available. So based on the workload category, we'll go and choose the particular type. So how do we understand the workload category? So see, for example, if you're new to IT, that is fine. But if you are, you need to understand, right? There are at a very high level, your applications can be either considered as a web server, or it can be considered as an application server or database server. So these are all some terms which you already understand, right? App server, database server, web server. So application will run your business application. Database can be your MySQL database or Oracle database or any relational database services. Web server can be anything like Apache or IIS, or there are many different web servers that are available. So these are all examples of workload category, or these are all examples of server role. Okay, so here based on the workload category, we can go and choose which particular instance family is suitable for our requirement. So the very first thing is, in some of the cases, the business owner, the customer will not know what kind of load this particular application will have. Okay, in such cases, That is the reason why we have general purpose. If we don't know whether it is going to be a very high CPU intensive application or whether it is going to be a very high network intensive application, if we don't know that upfront, we can start with general purpose. Okay, general purpose will have balanced amount of hardware resources. When I say balanced amount of hardware resources, I'm referring to the CPU, memory, and all those stuff. Okay, CPU, memory, and these things will be in balanced. It will be basic. It will be entry level. So the general purpose category will start with A as a instance series. Okay, so if you look at here, each of the virtual machine will have a series number. Okay, it will have A series. It will have. If you scroll down, you can see different series here: A, B, C, D, and so on. So the very basic model or a very basic series of virtual machine is A series virtual machine. That is the entry level virtual machine, we can say. Okay, so entry level virtual machine is A. Maybe like I'll do this way. Okay, this is entry level. Okay, and we also have the B series. B series is referring to balanced or bursting or baseline. It is the baseline model, or it is the balanced model. You can call it as balanced model, or it can be baseline, or you can call it as burstable model. The reason we call it as burstable model, you can start with the minimal size. For example, you can go and choose 2 CPU and 14 GB of memory, and you can go and increase it at a later time. So most of them are burstable, so you can go and select the basic thing and you can go and choose the higher category. Okay, so you can, this is baseline, and even there is one more category called D category. Okay, so A, B, and D are belonging to general purpose. So what are the example use cases that we can use this general purpose? If the business owner does not know what kind of intensivity or what kind of intensity the particular application will have, we can go and suggest the general purpose. Or else, if you have non-critical application, or if you have development or test servers, or if you are doing some proof of concept, or if you are doing some proof of value, these are all testing and development stage systems. Okay, you can use the general purpose. Also, if you have any kind of low traffic web servers, or if you have very small database servers, or if you are going and creating some repository for storing your code, your application data, or if you want to store something very small, then you can start with general purpose. Okay, general purpose, the price will be very, very minimal. Okay, it will start with maybe I would say 300 Indian rupees per month. Okay, and if you go for compute optimized, so generally if you think about compute optimized, there will be very high CPU utilization on network related appliances. So see, when there are a lot of network activity happening on your machine, what will happen? There will be very high CPU consumption. So have you ever seen your mobile? See, if you are doing a lot of download, or if there is a lot of streaming happening in the network, your CPU will start getting heated. You have seen that, right? In your mobile also it will happen, even in your laptop or any IT devices. So when there is a lot of network related transaction, or when there is a lot of streaming or batch processing happening, if you are doing a lot of file transfer, or if you're doing a lot of scheduled activity, the CPU will get used very heavily, and it will become into heating state. So that itself will clarify. So any network heavy appliances or any network related machines, you can go and choose the compute optimized. Even any batch processing work, or if you are going to run some medium size web server or app server, or small size or medium size database server, you can go and choose the compute optimized. If your traffic is very medium, then you can choose the compute optimized category. But why we need to go and choose compute optimized? There should be something different from general purpose, right? So in compute optimized, Microsoft will go and use a processor called Intel Skylake processor, which is a very good CPU processor, which can give you very good compute power. Okay, so the systems that we are going to run, it will demand more compute capacity. In such cases, Microsoft on the back end, they will use this Intel Skylake processors, and they will also enable max performance on the BIOS, or a max performance on the processing actually, max performance, turbo boosting. So these are all hardware related technologies that are available for your CPU, hyper threading and so on. So this can boost your CPU usage. So these things are by default enabled on the compute optimized hardware. If you ask me the pricing for the compute optimized, it can start with maybe 2000 Indian rupees per month. Okay. So here in compute optimized, you will have more CPU for each of your memory, or you will have more CPU ratio compared to memory. See, in any of the hardware, you will not have a lot of CPU and very less memory. Definitely, there should be a proper ratio. So here, what I'm saying is there will be more CPU ratio compared to memory. So if you're talking about memory optimized, let me show you here in graphical console. So if you go here, you have this. I'll group it by series. Okay, that's fine. It's already there, grouping. Okay, if I scroll down, see, if I look at the memory optimized for just 4 virtual CPU, I'm getting 28 GB memory. But if I go and see the compute optimized, okay, so if you look at the compute optimized here, let me just see some examples. Okay, or else I'll filter by compute optimized here. Okay, you can group by series, or you can add a filter. So I can just say I want to filter by compute optimized. Okay, let us compare compute optimized and memory optimized. Okay, see, if I look at the memory optimized for very small CPU size, I'm getting very huge memory. For example, 2 CPU, 4 CPU is getting 28 GB memory. But if I scroll down and look at the compute optimized category, you can see that it is in a very good ratio. For 2 CPU, we are getting 4 GB of RAM. For 4 CPU, we are getting 8 GB of RAM. So which means for each of your memory, you are getting at least 2 CPU here in a ratio, 1:2 ratio. So it is very good actually. So compute optimized will give you very good balanced CPU power. So for each of your memory capacity, you will get enough CPU cycles to process. Okay, definitely CPU will not be higher in your hardware, right? So you know, right, your computer will have, your laptop or your desktop will have only one CPU or two CPU, but you will have 32 GB of RAM or 64 GB of RAM. Definitely in your mobile or in your laptop or desktop, memory will always be higher. But what is the ratio? Whether the ratio is 2 is to 4 or 2 is to 24, or what kind of ratio we have. In memory optimized, we'll have a very high ratio for your memory. See, for even 16 GB of 16 virtual CPU, you are getting 112 GB of RAM. Similarly, if you are looking at here, you are getting a very high ratio for memory. So if your application is demanding more memory ratio, then you can go for memory optimized. So when you need more memory, when you want to store a lot of things very quickly, when you want to catch a lot of things quickly and store it very fast, then you need memory optimized. So what are those systems that needs memory? Your relational database server. When I say relational database server, your Microsoft SQL or MySQL, PostgreSQL, Oracle database. So all these databases are consuming more memory against each of the CPU. So if you want to run relational database server, definitely you need to go and choose the compute optimized category. That is the most optimal one for your relational database servers. And even any other roles like data lake servers or some SQL hackathon servers. So these servers, you can close your eyes and you can go and create the memory optimized systems. So for SAP, I'll add one more important point for SAP shortly. But here for compute optimized, what is the series that you are seeing? For compute optimized, we generally see F series mostly. Okay, just let me show you that. So you can see that for compute optimized, we mostly have F series VM. So compute optimized will be mostly F series. Okay, and this is mainly for your compute optimized. And what is the difference? So Microsoft gives you very good CPU capacity and CPU power. And what is on the general purpose? General purpose, to balance the pricing for you, Microsoft will use the starting level Intel processors. Okay, Intel Broadwell. So I can tell you one thing here. Okay, whenever you are choosing, if you are choosing server with AMD, it will be cheaper than the Intel processors. Okay, have this in mind. But for a very high performing workload, you should always recommend Intel. But if the customer is more concerned about pricing, then you can go and choose the virtual machine series that is running on AMD background. I'll show you where exactly you can find those details. But here, coming back to memory optimized, whichever application which needs more memory requirement. So the database is one better example. Whatever I've listed on the below here, everything is a database subcategory. Okay, so always for database server, you can choose memory optimized. Okay, and for SAP is a specialized system, right? For SAP series of virtual machine, if the customer is asking for a series of a compute instance family where you need to run it on Azure platform, then you can go and choose M series VM. M series is SAP certified series VM. So if I go and look at here, you can see that. Okay, let me close this. Let me just add additional different filter. I'll go and choose the type, and I can just choose the memory optimized, and I can select this. See, if I on the memory optimized, I have got D series, E series, and even I've got some M series VM. So if I'm going to run SAP certified applications, then I need to go and choose the M series one. Okay, M series is mainly for SAP certified applications like SAP HANA database or SAP NetWeaver application, and anything related to SAP, you can go and run it on M series because this series of VMs are certified by SAP as a company. They have authorized to run that. So what they will use on the memory optimized server hardware is mainly purpose built for catching a lot of data, doing a lot of in-memory analytics and so on. Okay, so these systems will need to store a lot of data. So large caching is requirement, and there is a lot of in-memory analytics that will run on the backend to provide you the record performance. So you are very concerned about the memory. So memory, they will use latest technology like the DDR4, and in the memory technology, they will be using very good memory technology. And the processor side, they will use the basic processor, Intel Broadwell. Intel Broadwell is used in general purpose as well as in memory optimized to balance the pricing. See, if I look at the pricing here, the pricing for memory optimized will start somewhere around, let me see. Okay, it should be somewhere around 10,000 or 15,000. Okay, it is very high cost when it comes to memory optimized. Next category is storage optimized. So from the name itself, you can understand that storage optimized is for very high data storage. Whenever your application is going to transfer a lot of disk related data, when there is a lot of IOPS, when there is a lot of input output per second that is needed, when you are doing a lot of file transfer, when you are doing a lot of storage transaction, then you can go and choose the storage optimized, high IOPS, low latency, and if you are looking for very high throughput, then you can go and choose storage optimized for your application. Example of storage optimized requirements are, for example, if you want to have a data warehouse is a system where your data will be stored and it will be processed there. So data warehouse, big data systems, your not only SQL, they call it as NoSQL or not only SQL. Okay, some people call it as NoSQL, but it is actually not only SQL. Okay, for all these not SQL applications like MariaDB and Cosmos DB, so you can use this storage optimized. Storage optimized will have a lot of storage requirement. Let me move these things to the bottom. Okay, so is storage optimized will be having L series virtual machines. Okay, and here on the back end they will be using AMD processor to provide you very cheaper cost. Here they will be using very high cost or high performing disk on the server hardware. Disk technology like SSD technology will be used on the server hardware. Very high performing memory technology like DDR4 and the latest memory technology will be used on the memory optimized. So the next category is graphics optimized. So from the name itself, you can understand this is a graphics requirement application. So what is a graphics requirement application? See, for example, if you are going to run an application for a gaming application, or which needs some visualization, like your mechanical application or civil application, where you will be doing a lot of simulations, or you'll be doing a lot of patterning and all those things. So even if you need an application for very high graphic rendering, so if you are streaming data like Netflix, or for any graphics rendering company for live streaming or video rendering, so for all these use cases, you can go and choose the graphics optimized. It starts with NV series. Why it is having NV series means, on the back end, most of the server hardware will have NVIDIA card. This is a graphics card, right? Even if you are purchasing a laptop for your um, kid, or for yourself, if you are interested in using some games and all those things, you will go and purchase a graphics card, right? That is the reason it is called as NV series. On the back end, Microsoft is using the graphics card, NVIDIA or NC card, to provide you the required graphics visualization. Okay, so here you will be having video rendering, or live streaming, or for any video editing. For all these softwares, you need to have a graphics optimized. If your application is falling under this category, you can go and suggest the graphics optimized. It will be very high cost. The reason is, the graphics card itself is very highly costly. If you go and look into the market, you can get to understand the price of the NVIDIA card. So that is the reason the price of the virtual machine will be very high on a monthly basis. So the next one is high performance compute. See, in your on-premises, in your own data center, you will have some application which are having very high grid computing, or very powerful supercomputers, or all those things, right? When you want to migrate those applications running on supercomputers or grid computing servers, then you need to migrate it to HPC server on the cloud. Okay, these are H series computers. For example, if you are currently running Apache Spark cluster, or if you're running multi-processing applications, or if you're running application for your financial modeling. See, financial modeling applications are very, very critical. If you're looking at this share market, or if you're looking at the current financial application, they need a very sensitive information. See, even if there is a small deviation in the numbers, then in the share market, then it will be a very big impact to the people who are involved in that. So these systems are very sensitive, and it needs very high performance computing. So any application that need the fastest and the powerful CPU performance, you can go for HPC instance family. Okay, fastest and powerful CPUs. The CPU that I'm referring here is Intel Haswell. Intel Haswell is a very powerful CPU, which is very costly also. And even they also use other technologies like relative direct memory access technology on your hardware, to quickly perform the computing activities. Okay, any application that you have been running on your on-premises in a supercomputer, or if you're running it in a grid computers. Okay, so all these workload on your on-premises can be migrated to high performance computing application virtual machine in the Azure platform. Okay, so it can be financial modeling, multi-processing, even see, you might have seen weather pattern or weather simulation, right? It will change very quickly, and it has to cover the entire globe. Satellite will have to cover a large thing. Okay, for all those things like weather modeling, or weather learning, because it will have heavy data. Okay, it has to learn very huge amount of data, and it has to show you the visualization on how the cyclone is moving, or how the weather is going to change. In European countries, people are very highly dependent on weather. See, countries like India, it is having a different terrain, and the weather cannot be predicted as good as the European countries. But in other countries, Europe and South America, we can predict the weather very quickly. So in order to predict those, the application needs very high performance computing. Okay, so any seismic modeling, or any kind of weather modeling, or even in your chemical laboratories. Okay, so there will be a lot of protein manifolding, or even in your protein folding simulation. So why I'm sharing this much of data? So if someone from the customer side, they say, I want to use this application for weather modeling or chemical labs. So you can suggest you need to go for high performance compute. If they are saying I need a server for running my big data, then you can suggest storage optimized. If they are asking for a server where they are going to run database, then you can suggest memory optimized. So I'm giving you some insight based on the common use cases. So based on these use cases, you can go and suggest them which instance family is better for their business requirement. Okay, the very last thing is confidential compute. So from the name itself, it is confidential, right? If you are talking about financial application, or if you are talking about healthcare application, or if you are talking about application which are having a very high sensitivity, so you can go and choose the confidential compute. Confidential compute is mainly for data safeguarding. If you want to safeguard your application's data, you can go and run it on confidential compute. How Microsoft is giving you that confidentiality? So they are using couple of technologies on the hardware. One is trusted platform module and trusted execution environment. So these two technologies will be enabled on the hardware where you are running the confidential application. In confidential compute hardware in the Azure data center, they will be enabling the trusted platform module on the hardware as well as the trusted execution environment on the hardware. So when they enable it, the chances of the attack at the firmware level or at the driver level or any malware impact will be very, very minimal. There is very less chances of your systems getting your data getting affected. Okay, so based on the customer requirement, so you can go and choose which series will be better for them. So as an architect, for you, it is important to understand all these category. Okay, any questions from anyone on this particular important topic? Is it clear?
So Stan, one
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
So, we can use the memory optimized for the Oracle database MySQL, but in that Oracle DB or Oracle Rack, right? We do have
Mhm.
more IO ops as well. So, will it be memory optimized, or we can combine the any series like memory cum storage together?
Okay, so
Because
you have to choose. Okay, so
uh,
see, it all depends on. See, if you are choosing between storage and memory, so your memory optimized is always at a pricing level. It is a little costlier. So customers will say like which one is cheaper. Okay, see, they will also look at the economy also, right? See here, the general purpose gives you the most economical VM. Okay, so which means like the pricing is very, very less. But if you go to the higher series like memory and all those things, the pricing starts at a very larger level. So if your application is demanding more IOPS and memory, then I would suggest to go with memory optimized, because like you are demanding both of them. But if your application is just going to use more disk throughput, data transfer and all those stuff, then go for storage optimized.
okay, but we cannot have combined feature of two different series, right?
Yeah, we cannot combine, we cannot do a mix and match, but I'll give you some good inputs when we talk about the VM disk type. Okay, at the end, we have to choose the disk also properly. Okay, when we choose that, we can choose a very higher performing disk even on the memory optimized. I'll show you how to do that, how to deal with that particular specific use case.
So there will be some compatible with the memory optimizers with higher disk, right? Okay.
Yeah. So see, even for memory optimized, you can go and choose a very highly performing disk so that you get the better performance. See, comparing the other category, for example, comparing your compute optimized or general purpose optimized, memory optimized will have 4 times more SSD storage. SSD means state drive, right? These are all flash technology drives. Okay, solid state drives will be used so that you get very high performance. Okay, even for half a TB of RAM, you will get at least 4 times higher SSD disk, so that any parallel computational requirement or a parallel memory requirement can be satisfied. Okay, so see, I mean, these are all architectural stuff, right? So just try to understand at a very high level in your organization. If you are just going to go and choose the specific type, then already the architect who has designed it might have already chosen all these things. Okay, but you can ask him why he has chosen this, I mean, why he did not choose the other option, and we can cross question them if you understand little more detail.
Yep, understood.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I hope that people are clear with this discussion. I'll just go and just close this. Okay, and few more important consideration you need to make when you're going and suggesting the instance family. Number one, always go for the latest generation. The latest generation will give you much better performance, much better security benefits, and balanced everything will be balanced state. And again, you have to check the particular instance type, whether the quota is going to expire, or whether that particular model is going to expire, or whether it is a new version. See, always there will be a version number here, so always go for the latest version of instance family. Okay, the lower version might be slightly cheaper, but the performance might not be up to the mark. So always go for the latest generation. Latest generation is what will be the fit for purpose, as well as the costing also will be somewhat cheaper compared to the old generation. See, if you are using older generation technologies, the chances of those devices failing, or the chances of those devices getting corrupted is very, very high. Okay, so you have to spend more money on repairing those, or your application might go down. So running cost will be very high for the old generation devices, whereas the initial cost might be cheaper. Okay, but always comparatively on an average, costing is better on the latest generation. Okay, always think about it. Okay, so some people have this wrong assumption. Okay, so they will go and buy something old, but maintaining that old stuff is always costly. See, if you're buying a new car, okay, the maintenance for the first few years, you don't have to pay anything on the maintenance, because you have purchased a new one. There won't be any problems, or there won't be even if there is a problem, the provider will give you warranty and guarantee, and based on that, you can get the maintenance free of cost. Whereas if you're going and buying something old, or old generation, then the spare parts availability, the problems in that stuff, the maintenance cost will be very, very high. Okay, so you have to think those analogies, and you can decide on this. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so here you can go and check this, and we can decide on it. Okay, now coming back here, let's see like if you have missed anything on this first basic screen. If there is a
Stan,
question, please ask. Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead, Haji. Yeah.
yeah, basic question actually, like, so if you are selecting one series, and what is the frequency of releasing out the new series, in the sense like the versions,
It depends
the
on the other vendor, right? So, Hajib, if you think about Intel on the back end, if Intel is
mhm.
coming up with new version of CPU model, or if the disk provider is coming up with a new generation, so on the back end, these instances are heavily dependent on the hardware vendor. Okay, if there is a new generation that is coming in, if Microsoft is approving in their data center, then a new instance family will come. Okay, maybe like maybe once in 6 months, or once in a year, you'll get at least 2 to 3 new versions are coming out of instance
Okay.
family.
So the reason began for the question is like we are hosting all our Oracle machines on the Azure platform. At
Okay.
if they are releasing new versions, like we need to migrate our databases, like moving or upgraded to the new versions frequently.
Okay.
That is
No,
a question.
not required. See, if your application is stable, and if your application is getting the required performance, then you don't have to change it. Okay, you don't have to touch it very frequently. But if you get, I mean, again, the Oracle database availability is very important for your business application, right? If you get some maintenance window, then you can suggest to the customer that there is a new generation that is available, and you can highlight it. See, for example, with your experience, you might have seen all these things, right? So Microsoft is coming up with a new operating system every 2 years or 3 years. But whether we are upgrading it every year or every 3 years, no, right? We are still having machines running Windows 2008 R2. We are still having machines running on Windows 2012. Currently, we already have Windows 2022 operating system. See, at the end, the business owner is the one who is going to approve it. Business owner is the one who is going to decide whether they have to go to the newer generation or whether they have budget to do that activity.
Correct.
Yeah, so okay, that's fine. Okay, good question. Yeah, any other question from anyone?
Thank you, sir.
Stanley, I have a couple of questions regarding the
Yes,
hardware
Emmanuel.
thing.
Mhm.
So let's say, like, no, we have few VMs running in I mean, the hardware, whatever that we've chosen, but
Mhm.
let's say after few years the hardware comes to UL end of life, right? So in that
Mhm.
case, the hardware will be replaced by the the owner itself, like, no, so Microsoft, that they will plan to replace the hardware. So in that case, you were mentioning about that confidentially, right? So in that case, in the hard disk and all, whatever data for whatever service that we have put in, so
Mhm.
how about that hardware? I mean, the hard disk will be degaussed and then they will decommission it, or how would that will be? Any MSA on that particular part?
Okay, so Emmanuel, see that the changes in the hardware technology, definitely Microsoft will do it in once in 3 years or 5 years based on their criteria. See, if you look at your data center, generally how frequently you purchase new hardware, maybe like once in 5 years or once in maybe 4 to 5 years, you will refresh your hardware. All right, because like you cannot go and change your hardware every 3 years just because there is a newer technology. So there will be a rolling wave of changing the hardware. But when Microsoft is going to change their hardware technology in their data center, they will send you the planned scheduled maintenance work or task. So they will send you notification that they are going to do this task in next 3 months or next 6 months. They are going to do this hardware technology change. So you need to plan and migrate your server and data to a newer version of hardware which is already available. So they will release the availability of the new instance family version, and they will give you time to migrate to that instance family, and they will gradually decommission the hardware which are very old. Once, I mean, so not every customer will have budget to migrate right immediately. So there will be a phased migration of the customers from older generation to newer generation. So based on the release of the resources from the older generation hardware, they will gradually decommission those old generation hardware, or else Microsoft can still use those older generation hardware for some of the testing requirement or for some of the POC requirement, or even we are going and creating a lot of test VMs, right? So all those VMs can be created on those